Zach Wilson has to take the hard road because of how Robert Saleh is running things. He doesn't tell Zach Wilson, take it easy during the moment. No. He waits until after the game is over to then go and say, oh, you should probably play a more boring game. Hey, what's going on, Trash Talkers? Today, you can tell we don't have Mike, which means it's going to be one of the best episodes we've ever had here on Trash Talk Sports. And I really want to kick this thing off by really just breaking down some of the massive games we have had this weekend. Had some big upsets, some big surprises, and I think I want to start off with the quarterbacks. I want to start off with the rookie quarterbacks. I want to start off with Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. Now, starting off with Zach Wilson, we have them going up against the Patriots in what is a fantastic matchup. Bill Belichick constantly sees this as a chance to ruin the life of a rookie quarterback. And not only that, he gets to face rookie head coach Robert Saleh at the same time. Now, we going to this, we know the history of Bill Belichick against Jet quarterbacks. We saw Sam Darnold seeing ghosts a couple of years ago. Mark Sanchez with the butt fumble. Geno Smith had his issues as well. In this game, it started right away, right? We had Zach Wilson on his first play trying to make something electric happening, and it goes right over their head, right through Corey Davis's hands into the defense, gets tipped. J.C. Jackson comes down with it. That's pick number one. Then Zach Wilson comes back out again, runs the ball, gets a good yardage. Second play, his second pass, another interception. This one's a little bit more clear. Tiptoe on the sideline by, you guessed it, J.C. Jackson, one of the interception kings in the NFL. This was just an absolute beatdown for Zach Wilson from the get-go. And I really have a problem with the head coach, Robert Saleh, not teaching him how to be a real quarterback in the NFL. And all you have to do is look across the field to Bill Belichick and Mac Jones and see what they're doing. What are they doing differently than Zach Wilson and the New York Jets? And it's Mac Jones handing the ball off constantly, taking as few reps passing the ball as possible. This gives Mac Jones the opportunity to actually find his place in the system, to calm down, figure out defenses. He's there to analyze the defense, but knowing he gets to hand the ball off, so whatever he sees, he can think about it in the time, go back to it after the game's over with Coach Josh McDaniels, and then discuss it together. Did he see what he was actually seeing, or is there something else he missed? But these are things that Mac Jones can learn while he's not making mistakes. Zach Wilson has to take the hard road because of how Robert Saleh is running things. He doesn't tell Zach Wilson, take it easy during the moment. No. He waits until after the game is over to then go and say, oh, you should probably play a more boring game. We should have let you hand the ball off to the running backs who were gashing the New England Patriots for the most part. That was a bad approach by the Jets, trying to just throw Zach Wilson out there series after series and expecting him to do something completely different. Now, he was down in this matchup to begin with because they didn't have Jamison Crowder and they didn't have Denzel Mims. So that's working against them, really only having Corey Davis and Elijah Moore against one of the best defenses in the NFL. You're going to expect Zach Wilson to make mistakes, but some of those were just pure awful. I mean, looking at the complete wide open interception by Devin McCourty where Zach Wilson, there was nobody in the area, so I don't even know what he's looking at. He threw that ball with authority, completely ducking it, absolutely poor everything on the part of Zach Wilson. And that's something I don't put on Robert Saleh, but that's something that Zach Wilson's got to figure out. He cannot make those boneheaded errors. Those are going to cost him big time. And look, there were a lot of turnovers in this one, but that was the biggest one because that one actually led to a touchdown, and that's kind of what blew that game wide open. Now, for Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, they had a very similar situation where Urban Meyer wants Trevor Lawrence to do way too much. He wants him to just throw the ball to all these big name receivers that they have and try to make spectacular things happen like he did at Clemson. things are a little bit different. This is the NFL. There's going to be growing pains. I don't care who you are. And for Trevor Lawrence, that is exactly the case. Throwing another two interceptions, up to five interceptions in the first two games of his career, he's not looking great. And I know they've had a tough matchup against that Denver Broncos defense, but this is still an opportunity for Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer to learn together. Take an approach from Bill Belichick. Hand the ball off to James Robinson, a guy who had almost 300 carries last season, who is used to that heavy workload. He can handle it. Let Trevor Lawrence dissect the defense, but no, he's just going to hand the ball off. All right, they want to blitz from the left side. All right, I'm going to switch my protection and help out my running back as well. Or that's what I would have done if I was passing the ball. All right, he doesn't have to go through the motions, but he needs to think about it when he's actually going through it, knowing he's going to end up handing that ball off to James Robinson. That is the safe option. That is the best opportunity for your quarterback, your rookie quarterback, to learn from his mistakes or just learn in general, really, and for your team to actually have a fighting chance at winning the game, because Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence being told to just go out there and play their game, you can't do that. They're going to play like they did in college, where they had all the time in the world to throw that ball, to find the open receiver. It does not work like that in the NFL. You have less than 2.5 seconds to get that ball out. Otherwise, you're flat on the ground. And with the Jets and Jaguars offensive lines being as poor as they are, they have to get that ball out as soon as possible. You can't be looking for the 20-yard plays. You got to be looking for the dink and dunks. Throw to your safety blanket, your tight end, or the running back. Throw shallow crossers to Elijah Moore or to Laviska Shenault. That's why you have guys like that. And that's what these coaches need to teach the rookie quarterbacks. I don't put all the blame on the quarterbacks. I don't put all the blame on the coaches. But they've got to learn together. They've got to grow from this. They need to show progression. And I know it's a lot to ask in the first two games of the season, but I think that these guys, especially Urban Meyer, who has the experience as one of the best head coaches in college football, he needs to know this about these young quarterbacks. He needs to know what their mindset is like and how they're going to diagnose different defenses and different schemes. They've got to realize that they're not going to be able to understand every single thing right from the beginning, and that it's going to take some time. So I really want to see this straighten itself out, because if it doesn't, it's going to be not only a rough season for Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, I think this could really hurt their careers in the long run. Now, moving on, I want to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders, because they had a fantastic win once again against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this was a huge game for the Raiders, because it was able to show you just how elite the Raiders defense has become. That pass rush is absolutely disgusting. They are one of the most terrifying pass rushes in the NFL right now. And I think that we saw that secondary really come into their own in this one. A heavy task with those three big wide receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they really held them at bay. I mean, yeah, you had some couple big plays to Claypool and Deontay Johnson, but for the most part, they were able to hold it together, not giving up too many big touchdowns. And in the end, the offense for the Raiders, look, you didn't have Darren Waller, and I knew that Darren Waller was not going to be the weapon there for him. But you see Derek Carr finally figuring out how to work with Brian Edwards, something we've wanted for a while. Henry Ruggs getting that deep open play at the end of the game. That was a massive touchdown to kind of seal it for the Raiders. These are things that we have not seen from Derek Carr, from John Gruden, and the Raiders. This is something that is brand new this season. We finally seeing the whole thing come together. And I mean, you kind of saw this all coming together this offseason. Yannick Ngakoue coming over, Carl Nassib coming to the Raiders on the offensive side of the ball, rehauling that offensive line that has looked very solid so far. So, I mean, it's absolute props to the Raiders. But the thing is with me, they played the Baltimore Ravens, an elite team. They played the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are still an elite team. But we've seen from the Raiders, they can play in these big games and come out on top. But when they play a team like the Detroit Lions or like Jacksonville Jaguars, are they going to play down to their competition? Are they a team that can rise to the occasion and play to their full potential? Or are they just going to fade and just play against how good the guy opposite them is? And I think that is the big question to be answered, because that's what's held back the Raiders for a couple of years now. They've had the talent. They just don't know how to put it together when they're not playing the best competition. They know how to do it when they're playing the best. It's one of those weird situations that you just don't see too often, but we've seen with the Raiders time and time again. They got the big wins over Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I need to see them do it again this season, but against the Lions, against the Jaguars, teams like that who are at the bottom of the league who still have so much to prove. Because I think these are where the Raiders are going to find themselves struggling. And I want to see them persevere. I want to see them not only win those games, I need to see them absolutely dominate to know they are the real deal, to know that they can take on teams like the Kansas City Chiefs in their own division or the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. They can't be at the top of the conference if they can't beat the best guys. We know they can beat the Ravens and the Steelers. Can they beat guys who are lower than their competition, who are not as good as their players? Can they play well above that level? And can they play against the best level in the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills? So I think that there are some questions still to be answered, but I really like the direction that this Las Vegas Raiders team is headed into. The third topic I want to talk about is there a single team in the NFL that can stop the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Because Tom Brady, when he wants to, he'll just throw a touchdown. It doesn't matter to who, right? Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and then the plethora of running backs that they have. They cannot run out of options, and the defenses don't know what to do. Frankly, they're running out of ideas on how to stop these guys because you just cannot double team anybody. You can't. And so when you're relying on all this single coverage, all of these elite weapons, all these guys who have been in Pro Bowls, all pro, they cannot be covered in solo man-to-man, especially when you're playing against the Atlanta Falcons. And I expected a demolition derby from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Falcons. But what I saw on both sides of the ball, the Falcons coming back into it just to get blown right back out of it by this defense. The secondary, which is the biggest question mark for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they showed up strong. They didn't give up too many big plays to Ridley or Kyle Pitts, and they came up strong deep when they were blitzing those safeties coming in heavy, tipping the ball to themselves with those two big pick sixes. Absolutely unbelievable what Todd Bowles is doing with this defense and what Byron Leftwich is doing with this offense. Tom Brady has taken full control of this offense, and there is not a single team in my mind that can get past them right now. I just don't think that there is a team on their level. They are in a complete stratosphere by themselves, and I just don't think that they're coming down to earth anytime soon. And I think what I'm saying is going to be backed up next week when they go on the road to Los Angeles and face off against the Rams. A big test for them, but I think that that is going to be the nail in the coffin to everybody saying, you got to chalk up the season. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are just too dominant, and there's not a team out there that can get past them. Fourth on my list, I want to talk about the Tennessee Titans. And they just got a spectacular overtime win against the Seattle Seahawks. But I just don't believe they're legit. I think that this is a complete mirage. They are not a team who is going to really compete this season. They can barely play against NFL playoff teams like the Cardinals and the Seahawks. I just don't even think that they're a playoff team in general at this point. I think the Colts, who are 0-2, are still a better team. Derrick Henry is going to be relied on way too much, as we saw in this one, rushing for over 170 yards and 3 touchdowns. That is not something you're going to see every single time. And you're not going to have Julio Jones getting wide open as much as he did. A.J. Brown's got to figure himself out. Tannehill, I know he's trying out there. This offensive line is not what it used to be, especially with Taylor Lewan and whatever he's dealing with right now. That is a huge blow to them, and they're going to continue to hurt from it. I don't believe in this defense. I think that they got lucky towards the end. They kind of started to figure out Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, but I just don't think that they can go up against even teams in their own division, the Colts and the Houston Texans. Honestly, don't know if these are teams that they can get past. The secondary for the Titans team is a little weary to me. You got Christian Fulton and Caleb Farley there, but what are they really doing? They give up big plays early and then they kind of figure themselves out. I just don't think this is something that's going to work even against your divisional opponents. Guys like Brandon Cooks, who aren't the big names, or Michael Pittman, who isn't there just yet, they're going to dominate against the secondary. They're going to have their way. And to me, that just shows you the Tennessee Titans are not for real. They just know how to honestly get lucky at the end of games, how to just, by the edge of their teeth, scrape one out. I just don't think that this is something they can keep up. I don't think that they are going to be able to prove that they are a playoff team in the end. And it's just something that is unexpected because it is the Tennessee Titans. They are one of the strongest teams in the NFL for the last couple of years. And now we're seeing the fall off because they lost some key pieces on defense and on offense. I think Jonnu Smith, a big part of that team that's missing. They need a tight end like that. I just don't know if the Tennessee Titans have it in them. I'm not betting on them. I think that it is the wrong option for you. It's one to watch out for, something to keep up with, but I think that this is an absolute mirage. The Tennessee Titans are going to swindle you if you believe in them, and they're going to fail you in the end. I just believe that there are better teams out there in the conference that are going to absolutely edge them out. And I think the Colts in their own division are going to end up coming out on top. And finally, I want to talk about the Arizona Cardinals, who had an absolutely sensational game against the Minnesota Vikings. And they, again, scraped by the edge of their teeth out of this game. And I just don't know if that's the Arizona Cardinals playing at their absolute full ability, or are they playing down to their competition? Because this is the Minnesota Vikings that just lost in overtime to the Cincinnati Bengals in week 1. And now they're putting up massive touchdowns and big drives over the Arizona Cardinals just for the Vikings to miss a short field goal that cost them the game. The Arizona Cardinals did this last year when they faced the Lions, the Carolina Panthers, and the New England Patriots, teams they should have easily beaten, but they lost to because they are another team that plays down to their competition. And we saw it in this one. Chandler Jones getting 5 sacks against Taylor Lewan, one of the best left tackles in week 1. Where's Chandler Jones in week 2? He's not going up against Taylor Lewan. He's not going up against Christian Darrisaw, the first round pick that they took. No, he's going up against some second string schmuck that's playing left tackle and just can't get to the quarterback as quickly as he was a week prior. J.J. Watt not being as effective as he was, especially in the run game. Dalvin Cook rushing for 130 yards. I just don't think that the Arizona Cardinals are playing at their absolute ability. There are some specific teams that, like I have mentioned, the Raiders, the Tennessee Titans, the Arizona Cardinals, these teams just do not play at their absolute ability. The Arizona Cardinals, I know they have it in them. I know this team is going to be one of the better teams in the conference and in the NFL this season. But to see them barely get out of this one alive, it really shocks me that Cliff Kingsbury is not able to get his guys to maximize their potential every single week. These players look at their matchup and say, I got this. I don't need to work as hard. I don't need to try. I don't need to put in the effort. And guess what? They get blown by. They're missing assignments. It's just something so unorthodox for a high caliber team. You don't want to see it. You don't expect to see it. So why is it happening? I just think that it's on the players and it's on the coaches. The coaches got to be on their asses a lot more. You got to want the most out of your players. It can't all be fun and games. This is a business at the end of the day, and you got to play like one, because if you're not going to play up to your potential, there's another guy out there who's willing to put in 110%, and he will outperform you even if he is not a bigger name than you. He is going to help this team out a lot more. And you've got guys like Jordan Hicks, who was a captain last year and was demoted, and now he is playing at lights out for them, ready to take his spot back from Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons. So it's not even guys outside of the roster, right? You've got guys on this deep roster who are ready to take over. Honestly, if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, I'm trying to get the most out of this team, and if that means taking one of my young guys who I believe in, who has potential to be an absolute star in this league, and benching them, then I'm going to do it, because I need to prove a point to my players that if you mess up, you need to be held accountable. If you miss an assignment, you need to be held accountable. If you are not going to give me everything you've got, then why are you playing for me? And I think that's the approach Cliff Kingsbury needs to take. I think this is something that needs to be ingrained in a lot of teams right now. Players are too overly concerned about having fun out there and not winning. And I don't get that. It boggles my mind. You are some of the most competitive players, some of those competitive people in the world. and you don't want to play against the best competition and show that you are the best by far and away, and the coaches need to take action against this. I really want to see the Cardinals improve. I really want to see them dominate out there because honestly, them and the Los Angeles Rams are truly the only hope in the NFC for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers not to repeat. And I just need to see more from them before I can have any confidence that they can take on such a task. These are my 5 big takes, my 5 big overreactions, if you really want to call them that. But I just think there are a lot of things that need to be worked on right now. Not a lot of positives from me this week, besides some big plays from guys like Cooper Kupp and Derrick Henry. But I want to see the NFL get a lot more competitive. There's too much talent out there. There hasn't been this much talent in the NFL in a very long time, and I want to see every single team maximize that potential. It's got to happen from these big teams who are making that playoff push. If they are the real deal, they got to show it. I need to see it out there on every Sunday. Until then, I'm going to hold back. I'm going to have my reservations, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be the team to beat for a very long time. All right, guys, with that, that will be all for this episode. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Be sure to drop a comment down. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was from this Sunday's football. I want to hear all about it, and I'll get right back to you. All right, Trash Talkers, that's all from me. Peace and love.